And good evening. It is the 17th of July, 2021. Time for another high rent biddle. It's the ninth one that I've done. So welcome to Biddle. We're set out to have a
Hello.
talk around about tech, around the virtual water cooler, anything that is Linux, tech, and open source. Anything related to there is on the table for discussion. I do want to thank Rocco for starting the Biddle community. Some of the best people I've ever met have been part of Biddle, and I get to talk to you every Saturday, or most Saturdays anyway. So how is everybody?
Doing great,
Awesome.
mate.
Excellent.
Great.
Great.
Fantastic.
I see I see Tony's here, but I can't hear him, and it makes me a little bit sad. So hopefully, 'cause it says you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. So I want to kind of start this off by what have you been doing in Linux? So I know Jason, you said you got something with Raspbian going on.
Yep. I got the Raspberry Pi 4 and I set it up as using Raspbian and some good old command line shenanigans to set it up as a NAS.
Well, that's cool. How is it performing for you?
It's performing very well. It's a little on the slower side because it's a it's a Raspberry Pi, so it's not the top of the line systems or anything like that. But I have a 4 terabyte drive and one of the drive caddy things, and have it connected. I've been able to get it to network with my Windows machines, my Macs, my the Linux machines, so it's up and running.
That's excellent. Did you have any issues getting it started? Like any with like the Linux side or Mac side or any of the Windows machines?
The
Any
Windows
initial
side
set?
was the hardest. Was the hardest one because I had to do a lot of command line shenanigans and Samba config edits and all kinds of good stuff just to get it the Windows side to like it. But it worked. It took about 30 minutes, 45 minutes of tinkering, but it was up and running.
So for me, it's probably like 30 to 40 days before I could probably get it up and going because sometimes I just bang my head
Yeah.
against the wall and I can't solve problems.
Well, the hardest part was because I know Raspberry Pi is normally run off of the SD cards, micro SD cards, but I went and used them with Raspbian. You can go in and configure it to with some more command line shenanigans and things. I have it booting off of SSD, one of the
Cool.
Samsung, I think it's a 960 500 gigabyte SSD. So
Wow.
I got that going first, and then got the NAS running off of it, and the SSD and the NAS drive are both in the same caddy. So sometimes it was a trial and error, tinker to get both of them to work in the same from the same caddy, but it's working.
That's cool. Well, thank you very much for sharing. I like to hear when people get projects actually started and going and finished and using it because then that's knowledge you can share with the community and hopefully someone else is inspired to do something similar to improve their computing lives. Anybody else have anything interesting in Linux they've been doing this week?
Not a lot of projects, but all three systems I use have had quite, not major updates, but quite intensive updates. PC Linux OS had quite a big update, as did FreeBSD even, and it went up a notch. And the big news for last weekend, that was exciting for me at least, was that Solus is now Solus 4.3. We went, so
Yeah,
that was quite exciting.
I saw that today, and I was going to say I wonder if Peter's going to bring that up.
Of course I am. And I'm also wondering why our Australian contingent are imitating Canadians with their toques.
Well, because it's cold.
Yep, just a
I
tad.
don't
Yeah.
believe that whatsoever.
Well,
It is.
What is the temperature there now?
I don't know. I just know I just go off body temperature, and I'm cold.
For me, it's 15C.
That's nice. That's nice and medium, yeah.
No, it's not.
Some might argue that that is actually comfortable, but to each his own.
Yeah, 60 degrees is quite comfortable unless you've been a Floridian your whole life, and then that's anything below 70 is freezing.
Right, that's pretty much
Well,
what Vince is saying, I think.
I started a project this week. I'm working on the project. I haven't started the project, and I'm still going with the project.
How is that? How is
I
that?
don't know. Things just don't go to plan, do they? Sometimes, and sometimes you just don't have time as well. So, I'm working on stuff, but I'm just not getting anywhere. So if anyone doesn't see a video for a while, it might be because I'm just trying. It's preparation mainly. Preparation can take a lot of time, to be honest.
Okay. Well, I mean
So
that's
that's
understandable. Like
yeah.
when you start a project, you start with the research phase, trying to figure out what you don't know or what you need to know before you get going with it or whatever. I understand that.
No, sometimes you do. Sometimes you make like I did a video on this little HP thing here, and I just watched it back this morning. I hadn't watched it back, and the quality is absolute rubbish. So I can't use it. So I've got to somehow do it again. You know, things like that that just happen that you don't expect.
So
And
when you say
yeah,
rubbish, what do you what do you mean by
I
that?
wouldn't upload it in the condition that it's in because it's just the quality is not. It's not. What can you say? It's not clear. Like I mean, if you're reading text in that video, you wouldn't be able to read it. It's not clear. So I don't know why that is because it's showing that the X264 in the OBS Studio as there. That's in Windows 10. So I don't know whether I'm missing codecs on the Windows 10 or not. I don't know. Works fine in Linux, but just didn't come out clear in Windows 10. So, you know, you're muted.
To me, it seems like the solution's pretty clear.
Yeah, I know. I did actually set up Plex the other week. Has anyone used Plex? I've been trying to set up Plex.
No, not currently. I'm using MB.
I mean, I have it installed somewhere, but I don't actively really use it. We have right here a Plex, the machine I use for a Plex server, but it hasn't been fired
Yeah.
up in forever and ever.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to get all my movies in one spot, so if I ever want to watch a movie anywhere, I can just start up Plex and go ahead. So just use one of the computers as a server, pretty much. Is that what you do? You got it all? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
I
have
forgot.
like this machine has a couple 4 terabyte drives in it, and one's dedicated for
Ye-
file backups and stuff like that. The other one's dedicated to file storage, like
Okay.
the movies and all that stuff. Yeah,
Yep.
so I have a Plex set up to, link to that drive with all the both movies, music, and photos, and then it's accessible from any device within the house. If I wanted to pay for it, I think it is the paid option is if I wanted to like use it on a device outside of the network, you'd have to pay for that. Like if you're out and about, I'm like I don't need all that junk. If I'm going out somewhere, I'm
Yeah,
going out
okay.
somewhere for a reason. I don't want to be sitting on my phone looking at movies.
True.
But yeah, but I don't use it. Honestly, I set it up. I use it for maybe a couple weeks, and basically what I really do, if I want to watch a movie, I just go to the drive, find the movie, and just double click on it and play it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I'm just old school, I guess. But I wanted to play with Plex just to see what it was.
No, see, sometimes my kids, this is what kids do today. They want to watch a movie. I know I've got it on a hard drive, but nothing's connected. And then they go and pay like, $5 or something to watch it. So why are you watching a movie? Why are you paying for a movie that I've already got on a hard drive? And then I copy it over to USB, stick it in the Sony TV, and it won't play it because it's not in the format that Sony wants it. You know what I mean? It's just drives you crazy.
Oh, goodness. What you got to do is get yourself like one of those, that little mini HP that you have there. Get that set up as a with a hard drive, external hard drive to it, hooked up to the TV, and just zip it all off right off that. That way they can watch it right on the TV using that mini machine right off the hard drive.
What with Plex connected, it'll read it from the hard drive, will it? Is that how it works?
Well,
Because
I'm just saying,
Sony won't.
Yeah, you don't even have to do it from like Plex. I'm saying, but if you hook the computer itself right up to the TV, using like HDMI or DVI.
Oh, the computer. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and then have the hard drive.
I
I got the hard drive connected right to that, or a hard drive, and then they just double click on it and watch movies and whatever
I've done that
video
before.
player. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the easiest way. And less
Yeah.
bandwidth.
It's just that with Plex, you can connect from any different TV within the house. So, the daughter's got her own TV and so forth. So it can be connected anywhere. That was the plan, to do it that way. And the other thing is, I don't know if you know or not, I couldn't get Plex to identify a connected external USB and I think maybe I'm not added to the group, or maybe it has to be in the FS tab to do so. I don't know. Haven't tried those things yet.
I don't know. I didn't use any
Yeah, okay.
USB stick, so I mean, all my stuff came straight off, internal hard drives. I said it was easy to set up with an internal hard drive. You just point it to the folder on the drive that has the stuff, and it loads it all in, and then you just got the URL and send out the URL to, give it to my brother, and
Right.
that was it. Because we're all on the same. Him and I are both on the same network, so all our files are shared anyway.
Okay. Sure.
So I have an MB server set up on mine, and I refer to it as Nateflix, and so whenever the kids say,
Love it.
yeah, I want to watch something, I says, well, you can watch it on Nateflix. And typically I have a lot of things on there. I've got a lot of DVDs in storage. I know because I've been packing them up. And so there's a lot of, I like to buy them. I go to like bargain bin still, like at the big box
Walmart
store, and I'll, oh, $5. I haven't seen this in forever.
Yeah, we did that today, actually. We went out to Walmart, and they had that big bin in the middle, right in front of the entertainment section of Walmart, full of, like, $5 DVD. We didn't buy anything. We looked at it, and everything that was in there we basically already had anyway, because we have pretty much like older movies like the 80s and stuff like that, like Top Gun and all that good stuff. And then we went through it, and I'm like, Dave, we have 800 plus movies on our server right now, and we don't even watch half of them. We buy more movies. We don't own a TV. We do it all off of our computers because our TV died, and we just never used it anyway. So we decided not to get another TV. The only thing we'd watch on it is baseball. Maybe some occasional football, but we do that. He's got a 49-inch ultra wide, so he's got the big screen in his room anyway. I have the 227s on either side here, and then 224s and 220s. So I've got enough screen real estate. I usually watch it on the 27 here when I'm watching baseball.
Yeah, I don't have a real big TV. Just a 40-inch, I think, is what it is. I mean, if it was like 1993, that'd be huge. But I think for most people today, that's not really a big deal. And if anybody else had anything they want to talk about, if not, I'll jump into like the main topic thing that I like to start with. No, nobody. We'll get to Thomas later because now he's got some news for us. He can recite his blog post to us later. So, you may have seen or heard, but yesterday, Valve announced a new piece of hardware, the Steam Deck. Has anybody seen or been following that or whatnot? Is anybody here interested in purchasing that? No, nope. I see a lot of east and west, not a lot of north and south.
I have seen Thomas beg for one. He is begging.
So Thomas is begging for one.
I am actively offering to sell my soul to get one of these.
Oh my! I mean, it's
Wow.
just an overglorified Switch thing.
Yeah, it is, I guess. So
But,
The
what does it
reason I
run?
want one,
okay.
it runs SteamOS, but
No,
it's
no.
a different version of SteamOS from what's normal.
No, it runs Arch.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but
Yep.
I really want one for three major reasons. One, so I can play video games on the go. Two, so I have a nicer device to SSH into servers with than my phone. And three, because I want one that I can toss or try getting Draugr OS running on, because I think as the developer of Draugr OS, that being able to say that my OS runs on this, not just Steam OS runs on it, being able to say that we've actively tested this and know it works would be really good. So
That's cool. I've actually pre-ordered one. I thought I'd just make the plunge and just go ahead and go for it. And the reason that what compelled me was, well, I've been ho-humming for about a year now, buying another Switch for me to play with and have a portable device, just to have. And I looked at some other like PC options, And then this came, this showed up, and so I decided that it would be a good device. And since it's basically just a PC in that form factor, essentially, you can do whatever you want with it. To include install Windows, which would I don't know why you want to do that. But what I think is interesting, and I think this is the part that I would like to discuss and hear some thoughts and opinions on. So there were so many people that were interested in this device. It actually took Steam down, like it took their store down. Now that to me that boggles my mind a little bit because it's Steam. I mean, Steam gets lots of traffic. There are millions of users on Steam, and there was so much demand, it actually took it down. So then here's my question. And yes, Lamer, it'll be great for my retro gaming. Actually, what I think would be great is like a Commodore 64 beige skin on it, and if you make that I think would be perfect. But anyway, that aside, do you think? Because like Linux gaming is what they say, like 3%. Do you know what the latest statistics are? And if someone can look that up, I don't want to do that, but it's a really small percentage. And so now they're releasing this Linux device. Do you think that is going to have an effect on Linux adoption in the gaming sphere? Or I should say, what do you think? What do you think the effect is going to be? Are we going to see an uptick?
I reckon by default it will, because there's actually a lot of interest in the machine from non-Linux gamers, right? I've seen it a lot going around in the just general media and non-Linux media. It seems a lot of people are excited by it. The details of the machine are actually quite interesting as well. So it's actually quite decently spec'd. You can get it in 3 different versions, I believe. It's got a proper AMD APU in it with proper AMD graphics. Well, in the APU anyway. And there are a few other details that have come out since, like you can actually upgrade the M.2 SSD in it if you wanted to. I feel that, well, if people just buy it and just use it, then automatically Linux use will go up. But the real exciting thing for me is that it's going to mean even more support for Linux games. So apparently Valve are talking to a lot of the companies who have not yet allowed the anti-cheat software on Linux to try and get that working, so they can get a lot of the top 10 games, or more of the top 10 games that require anti-cheat working. So I think that'll be a fairly good development. And well, I don't think that a lot of people will buy the device and then go and install Windows on it. I'm not quite sure about that, but I don't think that that's something that people are willing to do. They'll just buy it and find the games that they want on there that are in their library and just use it as is. That's how I feel it's going to work.
No, I did read that they're supposed to. They said something along the lines of like near 100% of the library should work on it or will work on it by the time it's released. So that means they've got 5 months to get all that hammered out. So I wonder where they actually are now. Do you think they're sweating?
Well, I guess that's going to be seen. We just have to wait and see how it plays out and how well it actually works and all that good stuff. Hopefully it works out well, because that will be a huge step forward for gaming on Linux. And as far as what you were saying there, Vince, about Windows, there's already those tech YouTubers and stuff like that are going to try to, they get the free systems anyway to test them and break them and take them apart and set them to their paces, et cetera, et cetera. And there's some that are considering Windows on it. They're considering trying to put Android on it. All kinds of different things already. They just can't leave it alone and test the way it is. I don't get it. But I don't know. For me, the best part of it obviously is it runs on Linux. That's a huge plus, and you can take it and set it up and use it as a full desktop. They already mentioned that as well. You don't have to leave it as just a gaming console. You can hook it up to a device, whatever, like a TV or whatever.
As a dock.
As a dock, and then actually use it as a full device. You can open up your browsers like you do a regular Arch Linux machine. So it's not just a gaming console. It's also it could become a desktop. Granted, you're going to be limited to, I think it's the AGPU. I think it's what's on there, something like that. And I think you're going to be limited to the fact, how much. I don't think it comes with very much space I think 64 gigs. I think it was.
We have it up
something
to
like that.
512.
Up to five. Yeah, yeah. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is there micro SD cards as well?
I believe so. Yeah.
There
I
is micro SD card support.
okay, then yeah. So you have at least have that you can get the bigger
And
memory modules that way.
and it is upgradable too, from my understanding. Is that the memory the
Um,
NVMe is upgradable in it? That's my understanding.
Another
Ooh, NVMe.
thing that
Ooh, that's
I
good.
mentioned in another chat about this with somebody else is, and so you probably wouldn't want to do this because it's going to be super impractical, but you could. You could treat the SD cards almost like Switch game cartridges and install just a single game to a single SD card and have multiple SD cards and swap them out as you go. So it would be more like the Switch experience. Again, I don't think you would actually want to do this, but if you wanted to joke with someone and be like, yeah, bro, I got the prototype Switch Pro, it would be kind of funny, I think.
Well, I got the SD cards covered. I've got plenty of those. These are all my different OSs for my Raspberry Pi. I've got RetroPie, I've got Pi Lite, I've got um, Manjaro, Ubuntu, and various others.
You know, something else I noticed about the Steam Deck is, has anyone noticed how many buttons there are on that thing?
A lot.
It's got, yeah, so it's got your analog
Sticks.
joysticks. You've got your D-pad. You've got your 4 buttons. You've got you've got 2 trackpads. On the back, you've got the trigger buttons, and you've also got these hand grip buttons too. So
Yeah.
basically, all your fingers are taken up
Yeah,
by
and
buttons.
and I think the ones that are underneath, I can't remember if it's 2 on each side or 1 on each side, but I know they're fully programmable, so you can set them up into anything you want. As far as
Wow.
setting a macros or whatever for games. I don't know what you would do, or use it for when you're using the Linux. You can click it maybe and set it up to do certain things inside the actual operating system. I would assume, but I don't know.
So I thought there was something interesting here. I'm going to put it in the YouTube chat. There's as far as the statement that Valve made about Proton. There is I'm guessing this is some sort of this Ethan Lee, he ports games from Windows to Linux. And so he put a Twitter post saying, well, I guess that's one way to say we don't care anymore. If the game doesn't have a Linux version, do I need to port my game to Linux to have it work on the Steam Deck? And they said that's not necessary because they'll work right out of the box when it comes out. Do you think we're going to see some backlash from people because of Proton, or more backlash? Not sure. I don't know. I think it's an interesting. I understand the argument, because they're not actual native Linux games, but does it really matter if they run just as well on Proton? I mean, I kind of think it doesn't, but I understand the arguments as well. Proton is almost like the WSL, but the other way around. It feels like at this point, the Windows subsystem for Linux. And I think Adam Grubbs, too bad he's not here on the stream, but he did say that the issue with keeping SteamOS on the Steam Deck instead of loading Windows is that you'll lock yourself out of many games from EA and like Valorant from EA. I don't know if there's other things, and also Xbox Game Pass as well. So I wonder if that's going to be another reason to install Windows on it. If that might be someone might lean. Do you think that's going to be a big push, big pull? At all? No.
That's all. All that's going to be dependent on whether or not you can actually get Windows to run on it, and how well it runs. I'm not. Does anybody know what processor they're using to power that? Off the top of your head?
It's an AMD. I don't know. It's like last year's AMD processor.
Yeah. Then okay. So if it's not, as long as it's not an ARM processor, then if it's an actual full-fledged desktop processor or mobile like laptop processor, yeah, it should be able to run Windows no problem. It's whether or not you should be able to put it right on a one of the macro SDs or something like that, and run Windows right off that, possibly with some tinkering. So I mean, there's a lot of potential for that system. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and Lamer
So
brings
you know
up.
how
Go ahead.
you know how we talk about how people, if they buy a laptop or any machine from the store, and if we ask them, would you install Linux on it? Most people wouldn't. They just would use the machine as intended.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this would be much different for an average gamer to buy the machine.
Yeah.
They're just going to buy it, and if they can load their games on it, I suspect they'll just keep it that way. And if Valve just keeps supporting it and providing updates to the OS and it works,
Yeah.
I don't see an issue with that.
That's
As
true.
about-
That's especially since the 99.9% of the games that people do play, I would say 99, but a good portion of them are from the Steam library. Regardless, you can get a lot of the major titles. You can get them right off from the title themselves, off their webpage and download it, or you can get it on Steam in most cases. So there's probably not a whole lot of reason to put Windows on there, other than just to see if you could, for those techie nerd type people.
Vince, following from you, yeah, we're talking as geeks here. Majority of the people buying this are going to be gamers, and a lot of them don't really care what the operating system is. They just want their games to work. So,
Right, that's the whole reason for buying a machine like this. They
Yeah.
just want to buy it and be able to take it out and play their games. They
Yeah.
don't want to worry about installing a different operating system. They might, if they're really desperate for like something like the Epic Game Store, or like Adam says, Games Pass. But I just had another thought, is that speaking of geeks, can you imagine how many more insufferable Arch users there will be? Speaking from one to another, as an Arch
Yeah.
user myself.
and it's even worse than that. It's Arch users running Plasma.
Yeah, that's not even the easy one to keep going too.
That's
So-
all
so
right. I
people-
use Arch, but I use BWM, and I'm not insufferable.
So it has a 40 watt hour.
People who don't. Sorry, Nate.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, do people who not use Linux, if they do buy that, do they really know what's really running it anyway? Does it really highlight
No,
that
they're not going to
it's running Linux?
No, they're not going to care. Like somebody else, they said they're going to buy it straight out of the box. Like they're going to
Yeah.
turn it on, power it up, log into their Steam account, download whatever games they want from their Steam account to probably install it on the system directly and then play it. That's going to be
Yeah.
it. As far as using it as a full-fledged desktop, like I was saying before, where they can hook it like a dock and hook it up to TV or monitor or whatever, and get it running as a full-fledged art system, they're going to take one look at that and go, huh? What is this? For most people, because most people, average users, they're either Mac OS or Windows people. They're not going to know what, especially they're not, if they do recognize this Linux, they're not going to know which one it is right off the bat. They're going to have to figure that out as well. They're not going to realize it's Arch.
And how many updates does it have to run this machine if it's on Arch? And I'm
That
not,
does
I'm not being
concern me.
smart. It's just a question, yeah.
I would wonder, like, what's the stability of it if it's running Arch? Because I know. Okay, go ahead and Vince, go ahead and fire away as soon as I say this. But like, it does seem like Arch does have some stability issues, especially if you don't keep up on the updates. So I wonder what they're doing to mitigate that from a user perspective.
Install OpenSUSE.
That would be my that'd be my vote. In
Well, they
fact,
gotta
that's
have some sort of automation.
probably
for
going to
it.
happen.
Yeah, they got to have some sort of automation for those updates, because and they're not going to, like I've never used Arch, but if I understand correctly, it can be a little more time consuming to update, because you have to, package everything and whatever. I don't know what you got to do in Arch to get it updated, but that's too advanced for me. I'll stick with good old Linux Mint or Ubuntu or Raspbian or something that's all there from the get go. But yeah, so I'm assuming they have some sort of, they made it easy. Basically, they probably have they just hit a button and it does everything for you, that type thing.
I suspect that they're basing it off Arch, but having their own repositories, a bit like Manjaro does.
Yeah.
With their testing.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Have to, wouldn't it?
Maybe they are running Manjaro. They just call it Arch.
They probably would have said
But it does-
Manjaro.
I did read here somewhere that you can install anything you want on there, though, I think. Did I read that correctly?
That is, yeah, you can put whatever you want on it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
What's up, Adam?
Hey, hey.
So is
Hey,
Adam
there's a
gonna,
gamer, Adam.
yep, is
Yeah,
he gonna
Adam
get a
might
Steam
know.
Deck, I wonder? He probably,
Yeah, I plan on it. Yeah.
yeah. And are you gonna put Windows on it so you can do your Game Pass stuff?
Maybe. No, that's what the Xbox is for. No,
Oh, okay.
so I don't just see it as like a neat gaming device. Like I see it as a pretty awesome like portable PC
Yeah.
because it has the USB-C port, which does support, DisplayPort out and USB out and all these other things that you would normally get in like a USB-C dock. And so the idea of being able to, bring my Steam Deck to work, dock it at work, do my work things because it is an x86 PC. It has 16 gig of RAM. It's plenty powerful for work things, and then pull it off. And if I go anywhere else, I can sit there and play my games on the same device I just did work on. Like
Yeah.
I don't even need an extra controller or keyboard, mouse, or none of that. It's a lot more portable than a laptop, in my opinion, and I see it as pretty awesome there. I'm sure plenty of people will, create really awesome, scenarios with it with extra, tacked on displays. Like think about connecting up a second little, display, like USB-C display to the like maybe 3D print a bracket and have like dual monitors on your Steam Deck, right? Like maybe a flip up display. Like I see it as just a pretty cool platform for other things, not just gaming though.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
look stupid on a bus.
Well, yeah, but I already do that. So
So there are people that have been saying it is a Switch killer. I don't agree
No.
with that at all.
no, it's way too underpowered for that.
But
the, the thing that a lot of people are missing and comparing it to the Switch is that the Switch is a lot more optimized than this will be. The power, the CPU, APU, whatever you want to call it in there. It'll be okay for 720p stuff, but it's not going to be like they're talking about, running AAA games and stuff. And, I think in their screenshots, they have Doom Eternal listed. That'll probably run okay because that's a really well optimized game in general. But if we're talking a game like Witcher 3, which is even a little old, but still pretty demanding, or any number of, newer games that might, you're going to have to crank down some settings or to achieve your 60 FPS if you want it. It's not good. It's, sure, it has the same teraflop value as a PS4 or whatever, but it's not equivalent in any way because of the optimizations that dedicated console hardware gets. And I don't know, I see it as a neat thing. It's a great idea, and it'll probably be executed really well. But I think the real takeaway is the work they're doing on Proton and the work they're doing on SteamOS and bringing anti-cheat and other things. I'm more excited about that helping general Linux adoption than helping Steam Deck adoption.
do you think this one will be like a Sega Game Gear or Game Boy killer then? Is that going to be more along those lines?
I don't think it kills anything. I think it just simply exists alongside.
Okay. So they're saying 2 to 8 hours of gameplay. Now you just talked about optimization, the game optimization. That's a really good point because obviously Switch games have to run efficiently. I don't know if you ever watched Modern Vintage. I think it's Modern.
Yeah.
Modern Vintage
Yeah,
Gamer. I think.
yeah.
Well, he does. He's a developer for the Switch, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And great channel. A lot of really good, interesting things. But he was saying how like game developers are having a hard time cramming these AAA titles onto the Switch now because they have like 4 gig of RAM, I think is what it is on there.
Yeah, it's really limited.
Yeah. So I guess the question will come if you compare the GPU or APU, whatever, the graphics processing part of the system, how it will compare between the Steam Deck and the Switch. I think will be an interesting, like what the actual raw specifications are. I don't know, has anyone ever has seen that as far as like what it can actually crank out one to the other? I know it's not, one's ARM based and the other's not, so there's some differences.
Yeah.
there.
So I mean, there's some comparisons that can be made for equal chips. For example, like if you compare how a game plays on a Switch versus how a game plays on an NVIDIA Shield Pro, for example, they're the same chip inside, yet the Switch performs better because of those optimizations. Now, if you take the Steam Deck, for example, it's a good bit more powerful than the Switch in terms of raw power,
Right.
but how well will that power be taken advantage of when the games themselves are written generally with gaming PCs in mind and not a handheld ultrabook? You know, they're not now there are certain games like esports games, a Counter-Strike or maybe a Valorant or League of Legends or something like that, where they try to get, or even World of Warcraft, where they try to get the game running on as many pieces of hardware as they can, and they really do a lot of scalable settings and other things that go along with it, resolution scaling and other things, and that would have to come into play in a more wide scale if the Steam Deck takes off, but the older titles will still suffer from just being what they are. But of course, that adds in development time, that adds in development costs, that adds in time to debug these things, time to QA time, playtesting, all these other things that add on to what already is kind of a stretched industry. The industry makes a ton of money, sure, but there's a lot of if you notice a lot of I'm sure you haven't played, Nate, but a lot of modern games have a lot of them come out and they're pretty broken, and not necessarily as cyberpunk levels of broken, but there's still a lot of like nicks and scratches on even new games, and it's because of the development costs and development cycles that they're under, and having to add yet another thing to optimize for, that's kind of rough. And it's also assuming that you can really optimize for such generalist hardware. If the Steam Deck were a very specific product, right, then they could optimize for it specifically. But because the Steam Deck is running PC games, not bespoke games for its platform, it's just adding on to that PC optimization that's required. And that's going to be a hard sell for a game studio that's already creating maybe an Xbox version, a PlayStation version, a Switch version, a PC version, maybe even a Stadia version. Like it's a lot that they're stretched around, and
Yeah, that's a good
that's
point.
gonna be tough.
As time will tell on that.
Yeah.
I have seen some reports how there's some like Steam games they run better on Proton than they did on Windows. I've seen more than one report like that. I
Yeah.
can't remember the games, but I wonder if there are I don't want to say efficiencies that can be built into Proton, such as that could potentially make it those give the optimizations that are necessary to make it run a little bit better on the system. If maybe that was the target, or that is the target.
Well, there's certain technologies that are part of, say, DirectX 12, for example, on Windows, like variable rate shading and such, that really do offer up a pretty good chunk of performance. It'd just be a matter of whether or not Valve can, or whoever's working on it, can bring in those kind of optimizations at a low level for Steam games. And even with the Steam Deck, even if the Steam Deck becomes really popular, there's almost no reason for developers to make a Linux specific version and thus adopt Vulkan and all this other stuff. They're just going to use their existing pipelines because Valve said it'll work, so let's just keep doing what we're doing. And you might miss out on those kinds of low level APIs and low level features that would really push performance. Now, still early days with those, only like a handful of titles are even using those, and they have seen big differences in them, but I just don't. There are optimizations that Linux offers in terms of scheduling, in terms of memory management, and other things over Windows, especially when you're comparing it to like a full fat Windows desktop, right? That's probably doing a lot of other things, which would be doing on the Steam Deck as well if you had Windows on there. It's really just a matter of how well SteamOS handles it. And I know SteamOS currently has, at least in their beta or whatever they're running, they do have their own compositor for games specifically. So when you launch a game in SteamOS, it doesn't launch over your existing desktop. It creates like another compositor on another TTY, so to speak, and runs the game there to avoid any kind of graphical issues or any kind of wear on, like load on the graphics card from desktop and all that other stuff. So those kind of optimizations could push better performance, especially if they can adopt things like variable rate shading and mesh shaders. But time will tell.
Yeah, this is you're actually speaking lots above my head on that, but it is interesting to see how this shakes out. Have you pre-ordered one yet, Adam?
I was unable to.
Unable to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took the Steam, or it took Steam down on the network yesterday. They took their servers down, I
Yeah.
should say.
Yeah.
Which
I was actually trying to get a game.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was upset.
did you do you think this is going to cause a bump in Linux adoption or Linux usage on their metrics? Are we actually going to see like a little bump? Are we going to see something significant, or do you think this is just?
I
it's
think
gonna
at first you'll see a little bump because there's only going to be so many of these are going around initially. It really depends. I feel like it depends on the biggest thing is whether or not Valve can live up to their promise of all of your Steam games working. Now, the key there and the key thing that they said is that all of your Steam games will work. They're not guaranteeing that BattleNet will work or that Valorant and League of Legends will work or that World of Tanks will work or any of these third-party launchers or EA stuff, right? But if they can promise and live up to the promise of all of your Steam games working on there, that's a pretty compelling thing. And then if they can pivot from there and say, oh, by the way, we have our own Steam OS that you can put on your own PC if you don't want to buy a Steam Deck, now it's a little more compelling. Now people will be like, oh, okay, well, I can go over to Steam, I can install Steam OS, get away from any issues they might have with Windows, right? And do their thing there. Of course, the issue becomes how does Steam OS transition into more of a gaming OS, not so much a console experience, but more of a general purpose. Here's an operating system you should use as a gamer in terms of other features like being able to stream, for example, or any kind of content creation or capture, the issues of various things that gamers would do on their machine other than just play a game. But if they can live up to the promise and Steam Deck comes out the gate and all the media, all the other people are just like, this is amazing, then yeah, it'll work. I guarantee you it'll be at least a few percent, like 2 to 3% is my guess. If that works. That works.
Right. Do you think they're sweating right now?
Maybe. Yeah, probably. I would be.
Yeah.
But I really think that there could. No, it's not going to light the world on fire. There's tons of gamers that rely on other games, outside of Steam. But there will be I feel like there will be a good chunk of Steam folks who want to move over. Of course, the other side of that is everyone always has this argument of like, well, if Linux had X, then I'd move over, right? And then when Linux gets X, they changed their story to, well, if Linux had Y, I would move over, right? And it's like, okay, Linux can play all my Steam games, but you know what? I really like playing Valorant with my friends. I guess I'll just stay. Or Linux has all my Steam games, yeah, but I like to edit my YouTube videos on Adobe, so I'm kind of still here, So there will be a large portion of the community of the gaming community on PC that won't go over, but I do feel like there will be at least a few percentage points that will.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. It's interesting gaming times for sure.
Definitely.
Well, do anyone have any other thoughts or concerns or something else they want to get in on the Steam Deck? Yeah, I think it's a neat piece of hardware. Just as a piece of hardware, I think it's neat. And
yeah, gaming aside, yeah.
Okay, gaming aside, I pre-ordered one because why not? And I'm probably 99.998% sure I'll put Tumbleweed on there because why not OpenSUSE? Because I think I'd like to do some bug reports against it if there are issues. But it'd be interesting to see like if there's going to be dual boot or multi-boot efforts for the Steam Deck. I'm interested in seeing how that all shakes out. And I hope it's a success. I really do. So is there any other gaming news? I wonder if like Stadia, how well Stadia, if there's a way to access Stadia then through it too, because that would be pretty
sure
cool.
if it has a browser.
Yeah, but does it have to be a Chrome browser? Well, if it's a Linux distribution, can you have Chrome browser?
Linux, yeah, you can just throw whatever you want.
Yeah, that'd be so. It could be your Stadia machine then too, I suppose.
It could, yeah, and GeForce Now. and even Game Pass actually, because Game Pass runs in a browser. So yeah, or the cloud gaming ones, not all of the Game Pass games, but
Right.
I mean you could access those. You could access not Luna because Amazon, but but yeah, there's a few you could access.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's very exciting. So I think the
And of
release
course
is
emulators.
December. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think like I said, I want to put a beige skin on mine. So is it December, I think, was it the time frame, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 40 watt hour battery. It says 2 to 8 hours of gameplay. So I bet I could probably spend a lot of time with Among Us on there. That'd be great. All right.
It's more than my Switch gets.
Oh, actually, it's good. Brian Walsh in the chat, he says, "How does Steam Link eventually play into this?" I wonder if it will, if it does. Because that's an interesting proposition.
Yeah.
So those games.
Well, so there's already built into Steam. Like you don't have to necessarily have like a dedicated Steam Link app or Steam Link hardware. Like in-home streaming is built into Steam itself. If you're logged into another machine on your network with your Steam, and you look at games that you would normally have to install, they look like they're already there, and there's a stream button instead of a play button. So it's already built in.
So yeah, if you have a beefier machine and you want to sit on your couch or on the throne while you're playing your beefier games, that's an option. Oh, very cool. I'm interested in seeing how that all works out. I really hope it's a success. It's a game. It's a play that I wasn't expecting this year for sure. Is anyone predicting such a thing in 2021? That something like that would happen? No.
Not at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So Peter brought it up earlier, but he was really excited this week on the release of Solus 4.3.
Yeah,
Are you running it now?
Well, I'm like you. I have a rolling release. Mine's always up to date.
And have you had any issues? Have you noticed any feature improvements?
Well, as a rolling distro, I've had no issues. I've not tested the brand new ISOs, but I've not heard anything negative either.
Because they're the only independent distribution at this point. I think at this. I mean, well, I guess you could say like Linux from scratch is independent too, Gen 2, potentially independent.
Isn't Void independent?
It could be. Well, it's one of the few.
Alpine, I'm pretty sure is independent. Slackware, I think, is independent.
Yeah.
I think, unless you want to count all its derivatives, you can count. I guess you could say Debian would technically be considered independent because it's not based on anything. It's.
I see what you're saying.
But it's got a lot of derivatives.
It's a huge.
Yeah.
It's a huge.
It depends on how you. It depends on what you want to define as independent. Is it based on something, or, are we counting it as it is not based on anything and it doesn't have any derivatives?
So then, are you running Budgie on it then, Peter?
Yeah, I run Budgie. The way that Solus does the rolling is slightly different from OpenSUSE. Tumbleweed uses snapshots. Solus uses unstable and stable repos, where they put all the new apps into the unstable. They test it from there, and once it's tested, they move it to stable, and then usually every Friday you got download of those apps. So it's not a snapshot system, but it's still a rolling system.
Yeah, I haven't used Solus in quite a while. Not since they changed the packaging, the EKG packaging since last time. I
think they've done a lot of small improvements to the desktops itself. That's on their website. They call it quality of life improvements. So I think they've just been doing that. And I believe, and I was watching and reading a couple of things during the week. There was a comment made by Joshua on one of the videos made during the week, and I think they're working on Budgie 11. So that sounds exciting, because they spoke about Budgie 11, I remember, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, I think, or even further back than that. So it's been a long, hard road for those guys since IQ left, I believe. So, but they're still maintaining pretty well,
Yeah.
and they're
Josh,
working on
yeah.
budget. Yeah, Joshua. Yeah,
So
used to
Josh
watch
and,
his videos. Like,
Josh and the whole team have done really well. They've took it over.
yeah, yeah, they have.
IQ talked about going to a cute base for the
Oh, that's
Budgie?
gone.
No.
that's
No, that I think a couple of months after that was mentioned, it was not a thing.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying, because the myth is still out there, but it's not the case. And they're going to be working on Budgie 11, and I'm pretty keeping an eye on that, because I want to see what improvements they make to Budgie 11. It's a simple desktop, but it has the potential of having quite a lot of changes made to it. So I'm interested to see what they do.
I just like Solus because they're a very stable system, and Budgie is very stable. I've never had any issues.
Yeah, I run Solus for quite a while, but I just keep moving on. I keep coming back to things, I suppose. Solus is probably one.
No. Let me correct you, Colin. You keep moving back, not on. You keep moving back.
Yeah, well, I move on, and then that on becomes back again. but I'm interested. I've been waiting for Solus to go to Budgie 11 for a long time, but because of what IQ leaving and those sorts of things, it's been a slow progression. So they're only a small team. So I'm interested to see what changes are made to Budgie 11 once that comes around.
And no dates are ever promised. That's always been a Solus thing. And there's never an actual advertised date.
No, it's the same with Elementary, isn't it? They're the same. They never have any completed dates either. Elementary.
And they just complete when the work is done, then they complete it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to see that Solus is still kicking, and hopefully their funding model, or because they restored their funding.
They
Hopefully
did restore it, and they're doing really well.
That's good. That's good.
I believe they're going to be making. I think they're working on their software center, and they're going to be incorporating, I think, snaps and flat packs and things like that.
That's the idea.
Yeah, I think that's what they're working on. So
then again, it's never promised. They are very careful in their words.
What would you say currently is like the standout feature? Like if you were saying why someone should try Solus today, what would you say is the unique
For me, the rolling stability. You're always getting constant updates, but it's very stable because it's tested in the unstable repo that you don't even look at. So everything you get and it's actually optimized by them too for your system.
Yeah, that's correct. And the other thing is, if you like the way Arch goes, but you want it probably more stable than Arch, and you like up-to-date software, then Solus is always updating all the software that's on the system and keeping it up to date always. Now, so
even though I'm a Solus fanboy, I will say that recently Telegram brought out a video chat for groups, and the version of Telegram that Solus had in the repo was behind, and I ended up having to go to the Flatpak to get the new version.
Right, that's interesting.
I think they've caught up now, but all my chat mates in Telegram were already using the video, and I couldn't. I could use it on my phone, but I couldn't use it on my desktop.
That could be aggravating for sure.
Mm.
Very cool.
But Flatpaks work well too, so.
That's good. And then another distribution that I saw that was released in the last week, Tails 4.20, the Amnesiac Incognito live system. Does anybody here use
really
Tails?
Not really.
I find that
isn't that the guy who runs around with Sonic?
Yes, that is.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That should be their mascot. So I find that I'm already too amnesiac myself, and so I kind of need my computer to keep my data, has some integrity there, so that really wouldn't work for me. But I understand the reason for it. I understand why someone would want to use that for, you know, complete internet anonymity and so forth. So Max
What I
Henny
did-
says Tails is awesome.
Oh,
So
cool.
if it's got his vote, it's got to be worth something, right? Yes.
What I did notice this morning actually was there's a new video player that's come out called Clapper. I don't know if anyone's tried that.
Nope. What's
No?
what's it based on? Or is it like a GTK app? Cute app?
It's a GTK app, and it's a modern GNOME media player, which is based off. It was based off of I think it's M Player. I
Okay.
think. Don't quote me on that. I think I read that. Let me check it out. I'm sure it was based on M Player, which was the back end, I think. So yeah, there's a new one. Just trying to find that.
You know, I haven't heard of that. A lot of people really swear by the M Player. I used SM Player some time back.
Sorry, it's G Streamer is the media backend. G Streamer. Yeah. So I'll have to give that a go.
What's supposed to be its unique characteristic? Just yet another media player, or have some sort of like podcast integration or something like that?
It's got some distinct modes. It's got a windowed mode, a floating mode, and a full screen mode. So that's one of the a few characteristics it has. That's the main thing that I can see here. I suppose being based off a G Streamer might have some advantages, I suppose, using that direct.
I use GStreamer with VLC, so
Yeah,
it has all the plugins and whatnot.
Yeah, so something to keep an eye on, I suppose.
Does it integrate well with Cutefish?
Don't know. Haven't looked at Cutefish for a week or so.
Oh, wasn't cute enough for you?
No, not this week. No.
And then also UbiPorts 16.04 OTA 18 was released. So it's a mobile-focused operating system that continues to work with the Ubuntu Touch, and as they published the latest update, it focuses on improved efficiency, which I think would be good, because I find it was a little sluggish when I've used it. So it'll work with devices with just 1 gigabyte of RAM. I know what BQ E4.5 and E5 HD. I know. Oh, those are BQ devices. Okay, but they'll still work with it. And so, is anyone here interested? Are we still interested in Linux on the mobile device, or are we all looking at the Steam Deck now and just kind of forgot about that?
No, I'd love to see Linux come to a mobile device. I've got a spare Galaxy S5 there that I've been keeping there just in case it gets supported. Then I've got a phone that I can try it out on. So I don't want to try it out on the phone that I use daily.
Right.
Because
yeah, good call.
You don't know. You could brick it or whatever. You just don't know what can happen. So I have done that before with Lineage OS and managed to get it going no problem. But yeah, I'm using an Oppo currently, so I'm not quite sure about them. But it'd be nice if they supported some of the older phones that I could try it out on. Be awesome to give it a go.
I have a Pine phone that has UbiPorts on it. I should probably do an update on there and see how it works. I've been using Tumbleweed on it with Plasma Mobile. It's been good. I can use it for basic things, like phone calls and text messages and browsing the web. But as far as like app selection, Telegram, no games really. I mean, outside of Linux games, but they're not. Those aren't exactly the most fun games to play. I wonder if you can install Steam on a Pine phone now. Probably not.
You never know.
10 frames a minute. Yeah.
10 frames a minute. That'd be great. I bet you could play Among Us. I mean, if you can, that might work. So I think that's good to see that project still rolling along. I appreciate that they keep that going. and this is something that interests me. But and then you heard, I'm sure you've I think Jason, you talked about a NAS system that you set up earlier today, and I know there are several. I can't remember the name of them all, but all different NAS projects out there. Is it Open NAS or?
Yeah, I've
Easy-
seen that too,
yeah.
actually.
Open
Open
Media
NAS.
Vault.
Yeah, Open Media Vault. Well, Easy NAS
Easy NAS. Yeah.
just came out, version 1.0.0. It's their first stable build. It's been around a while, the project. But what is compelling to me with this project is that it is, what was it? Easy NAS, it's a storage management system for home or small office, and it's based on OpenSUSE Leap. So I thought that was
That's
exciting.
correct.
And it uses the Butterfest file system. It's managed through web interface. So it has many advanced features such as online growing of file systems, snapshots, or copy on write from, and so forth. So they say from the release announcements, it's that EasyNAS 1.0 is finally here. The first version of EasyNAS, totally robust, built on OpenSUSE 15.3, and they didn't camel case that correctly when they said that, with all the great features that it had before, plus many others. So I think it, not right now, but that might be worth, for me anyway, checking out. It's be interesting to see what everything that they've done, and also it might be fun to check out on a. I mean, since OpenSUSE 15.3 does have an ARM version, I wonder if they have an ARM version of that as well. So imagine, I don't see why not if it's all web based and whatnot. But I think that's pretty exciting. Does anybody here run a NAS in their home? Besides Jason.
Well, my modem comes up as a NAS, but
Okay.
I mean, you connect it via USB on the
Okay.
modem. I don't know if that's the same thing. I'm not sure. But
Do you use
I mean,
it as such?
well, you know, the funny thing is, I don't know what happened with that thing because I used to just go to in a file manager, go to network, and just it would find it within the Windows network. But for some reason, for a while now, that hasn't worked. So I have to FTP into it to actually access it. I don't know I think the modem stopped supporting. I think I made a video about that. It stopped supporting the, what do you call it? What connects to Samba?
Okay.
I think Samba's, for some reason, Samba's
Yeah.
just not connecting to it.
It's not the modem, Colin. I think there were Samba updates that basically deprecated the older versions of it. So it used to be there was a workaround where you would put in into the Samba config file client min protocol.
That's correct.
But I think even that doesn't work now because they changed the authentication. I think I read in the Samba
Right.
notes.
That's why it's not working.
Yeah.
So would EasyNAS be a better way of doing it? Is EasyNAS, you got to install it on computer, is it? Or
Pretty much.
or is
yeah.
it an application? Oh, no, you got to install it.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's like an
all right.
yeah, it's an operating system for your computer.
Okay.
But the I had a similar issue with I have a HP OfficeJet 8600, which I got back in 2012 or 13, and one day the Samba stopped working in it, and I couldn't understand why. I was messing around with it, and then sure enough, what Vince just said, they that part of the authentication changed so much that there's no current compatibility, so I couldn't print to a network share on that, or scan to
Right.
network share anymore on that printer. Very annoying, which is why. I
Yeah,
bought
is
another
there a
printer.
fix for this, Vince, or we don't know? Or I mean, is there anything
Not that I'm
coming
aware
out?
of.
Yeah,
I've looked into it for a while, and I think I've finally found a use for this Pi that's been sitting on my desk for the last 2 months.
Put an old version of Samba on there.
Yeah, no. I mean, just be able to plug in a USB drive and use that as a server.
Oh, okay.
It's fairly easy to set those up.
Very cool.
So Nate, I'm going back a step.
Okay.
Earlier we mentioned this program called Clapper. I'm looking at it in FlatHub, and I'm more a VLC man. I still use CDs, DVDs, all that stuff. VLC works great for that. But I like to look at things. One thing that stuck out at me was it says for best stability, Wayland sessions recommended. That's the first time I've ever seen that in a software saying that Wayland is recommended.
Right. Oh, that's probably what. So I didn't see that. I missed that bit. I didn't.
It works with
Interesting.
both Xorg and Wayland, but they're recommending Wayland. Huh?
Interesting.
So it begins.
Nice. And of course, when you guys are talking about clapper, I'm thinking about those old commercials: clap on, clap off.
Yeah, play a movie. And the other thing I noticed here, Nate, I don't know if you've seen that, there's a Pine 64 smartwatch that's going on sale for $27.
I did not see that. I knew it was going to
That's
happen. I just didn't
actually-
know.
So that's actually not technically on sale. When it first was available, it was $25.99. It went up by $1, but it is now available again because the first run they sold out pretty quickly, and it has not been available since then. I've been keeping an eye on this because I broke my first one.
Oh, that's
I
right.
want
You had one,
another.
Thomas, didn't you? Thomas had
I
one. That's
did.
correct. Yeah.
I
You
did.
broke
I liked it
remember
quite a
you
bit.
telling. Yeah.
Yes.
Until you broke it.
I liked it quite a bit, but I was not able to fix it. What happened was I dropped it, and apparently something happened to the accelerometer in it because the thing was working fine otherwise, but lift to weight wasn't working. The pedometer stopped registering, steps. Anything motion based just stopped. I tried rebooting it. I tried basically anything I could think of, and it wouldn't work. So I figured that the accelerometer must have come loose or something. I tried to crack it open and ended up destroying the screen in the process because I couldn't get in. So yeah, if you get one, don't drop it.
I drop everything.
Okay, Mr. Linus Sebastian.
I'm just saying, I drop small things.
You don't get the joke. You don't get the joke.
No, I don't. Please explain it.
Linus from Linus Tech Tips has a thing where he drops literally everything.
Okay.
He dropped a $10,000 CPU once and broke 2 of the memory channels on it.
Ooh.
Cool.
Yeah. Intel refused to replace it.
I understand that. Shouldn't have dropped it. No, I don't really watch that. Occasionally I'll watch a Linus Tech Tips. It's highly produced. Seems like it's very well done. It's not for me. Totally lost my train of thought now. Is anybody here interested in a Pine Time?
A Pine Time.
Yeah, that's what the watch is that to which
The watch
Thomas
is
is
called,
referring.
yeah, Pine Time. Yeah. Not really. I don't even wear a watch.
Yeah, I don't typically wear a watch either. I had a
Yeah.
not a Fitbit. It was a Garmin one. It's very rubbery. It was rubberized, so I could drop it. Okay, but then
That's
I
my
dropped it
watch.
and lost it, and I don't know what happened to it. What's that?
There. That's my watch.
Oh, just the
My phone.
the phone. Yeah.
You're fine. Yeah, same with me. Yeah.
I haven't
Yes, I
owned a
gave up.
watch, even a regular watch like what Peter's holding up there. I haven't worn or owned a watch in probably 20 years.
I think it's longer for me, to be honest. Yeah.
I like watches. I
one
just don't like
thing-
things on my wrist. So
Exactly.
Well, the other week, my watch stopped working. I thought, okay, it's a battery. The battery's run down after about a decade. So I thought, okay, let me start looking at some other watches. Maybe these self-winding watches. Maybe a digital watch. I started looking around, and I started getting sticker shock, and ended up paying $5 for a new battery. There you go.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
The other thing I did, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, if that's related to his, I was going to change subjects. So
No,
no.
go ahead. Just go. Just run.
Okay. I was going to say the Arc menu. I don't know if anyone uses Arc menu. I was using it on Pop OS, but since it's updated, I haven't really put it back on there. But they have now got the Arc menu GNOME extension adds a Windows 11 layout already. So that's interesting to see they've done that fairly quickly. So the Arc menu has many, many different menus that you can add to your GNOME desktop. You can add it on to your, what is it? Dash to panel or dash to dock, I think. You can add the Arc menu, and it has many, many different menus you can use. So now they've added Windows 11 layout.
That's interesting. Welcome back, Max. I'm sure you had something you want to throw in there. Or Donald. You haven't kind of expecting some more a visceral type of comments from you.
Yeah, just getting in after a power outage.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That happens.
Yeah. Laptop or desktop didn't want to reboot after that. Just got all the kernel wonkiness fixed.
I've just been kicking back and listening to the conversation. Really haven't had anything to say. I don't usually talk unless I've got something worth saying.
Well, you use BSD, right? Also, you're a BSD user.
Yeah, I play with OpenBSD a lot,
Do you have
but
any?
I'm not using it for this. I'm
you
using,
Okay.
go ahead,
No, I said, what are you using?
Arch.
Arch. Do you have anything like a NAS set up in your house?
No, I'm kind of looking at maybe doing something like that, but I haven't done it yet. I'm procrastinating.
It's understandable. What actually qualifies as a NAS? Like, what is the criteria for this is a NAS? Like, is it any network? Is it a specific appliance, or is it any device that has
I think
network
it's mostly
storage?
the software. I
Okay.
think it's mostly dependent on the software. You have to use. I mean, be a NAS. You use the NAS software. Anybody can have network attached storage, and but the like the NAS software itself is what helps you set things. Set the NAS ups. Set up the redundancies and all that kind of stuff, and get it set up so that it's like me. I have two 4 terabyte drives, and they've set up in a redundancy. So if someone goes down, it's kind of like a server type thing, and
Mhm.
so it's I mean, you could probably set that up on any device, on a Windows machine using different softwares and things like that. So I mean, it's basically just software, really. In my opinion, is what sets one NAS apart from another one is just the way the software is. I mean, before that, like I have the server over here that I run for backup, and I had all my backups automated from my system to go to that server. I mean, it's network attached storage because it runs all my backups. But I was just
Right.
playing with the Pi, just because I was bored. It wasn't working. It was on the weekend, and I was bored, so I wanted something to do. So I decided to tinker with. I actually use Open Media Vault as a you can as a another as the on one of those other SD disks that I have, where I've been tinkering with that a little bit too. But I mostly just use the Raspbian OS, have it set up as a network attached storage to Raspbian, and then it just has everything. Certain things go to that drive that I want, because it's network attached. Just have it set up. The hard drive shows up, on like File Explorer and Windows or Mac OS or Mint or whatever, and then I just drop files and drag files in and out of it as I like. So it's
How do you connect to your network attached storage, whatever it may be, from a Linux machine? What is the method you use?
That's what the command line shenanigans, especially going from a Windows machine to a Linux-based machine. It's a lot of Samba configs. You had to go in and change, add some. I went to a website. Don't ask me what the actual wording is and stuff, because I went to a website and did a lot of googling and research, and it's drop this in here so that it will pick it up over there, and so that we can attach it. And it was a lot of work. Like I said, it took about 30-40 minutes of tinkering and command lines and stuff like that, and on the Raspbian OS to get everything working. And I had to do some configuring on the Raspberry Pi itself in the Raspbian settings to get it to work as well. So it was a combination of research and tinkering.
Actually, this is a curiosity of mine now, but if you have multiple computers in your house, how do you move files between your computers?
Well, in most cases, if I want to move files on my computers, because I have pretty much every OS,
Hmm.
on here. I even do it on my iOS devices. Um, it's I just have them all set up on the same network. Went through the Samba configs on the Linux machines so that they will see the Windows can see them, type thing because you got to do some Samba configs in there, configurations in there, add some stuff, and then like most of it's like I said, it's on this computer right here. This one here's my server. So has the two 4 terabyte drives, and everything's pretty much networked to that. So with Windows to Windows, I just use File Explorer and type in the IP address in a run, as the // I think
Hmm.
it is a // 1 or 2, whatever it is. Then the IP address, and then hit enter and enter my password, username and password, log in, and I do the same thing. Just do the SMB, Samba from the Linux machines to go in. Um, the iOS devices, they actually don't really attach to the Windows machines. It's just to the Mac. But I can go from get into the Mac from them, connect to the Mac, and then see the files because the Mac can see the files off the server.
It's all Samba.
Yeah, it's all basically most of it Samba. It's yeah, because with Linux machines, that's pretty much how they connect with it. Anything is Samba. Um, So obviously the Windows machine, the Windows machines, those are automatically, as long as you set up your network sharing, and change the network from public to private, and you can see everything from machine to machine. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just do File Explorer and just use IP or run command and just do IP address and enter the password, and it'll open up in a File Explorer. And there's backdoors. Like I can control from my main system, I can control that other system through Explorer, not control it, but go into Explorer and I can see all the files
Hmm.
by doing the backslash IP address /C $. That'll give you the opportunity, the ability to see the C drive and basically get access to pretty much anything you need
Gotcha.
on the system from there. I do a lot of that at work too. That's one of the things we do. Is get the back door to other people's machines so that we can fix things because they like to break stuff and they're not supposed to touch.
Gotcha. Now, Donald, since you have a mixed environment as well, what do you use for file transfer between machines? Uh-oh, maybe he ran away. That's right. Anybody else?
Nope, you caught me on my other screen. So, actually, I use a USB stick.
SneakerNet.
The other thing I'm using is I have an online backup system I use because I don't do a whole lot of massive processing. I don't have a ton of data. Most of it is the setup files for Linux and all of that. So I use pCloud. I have a lifetime membership with them. So I have things out at pCloud, and I can pull things down from pCloud and do it that way. So, I have two different ways I have things backed up. And then I have two desktops. One is a smaller one. And I'm looking to use that to back up data, but rather than go through Samba, why can't I just use SSH and do the same thing? Exactly.
Right.
And so I'm considering doing that and set up the keys so that there's no passwords or anything. And that should be pretty secure from what I can tell. Because all I'm going to do is literally just put data out there, put my stuff out there, and that gives me easy access.
So I primarily use Dolphin with Plasma, and I use the Fish, which I think is the same as SFTP or something like that. Or I don't know exactly what the difference is between them. I think they may be the same thing, or one uses SCP, which I thought is also over SSH. Anyway, that's primarily how I move things back and forth for me. But I only have Linux machines. I don't have any. There's no Windows machines on my network.
And I'm like Donald. I also use pCloud. Excellent service. Highly recommend them. The great thing about pCloud over Dropbox and such is it takes up no space on your drive. It's a virtual file system.
Hmm.
Unless you tell it to download certain folders, but no, otherwise it is truly a cloud service. I actually use it at work on my Windows machine too. I actually back up my own work files onto it, and it's just great. And then once a week, I rsync the P Cloud to a hard drive, so that's my backup.
Does that use like a WebDAV
No,
mount?
I go into terminal and do an rsync.
No, I mean for the remote storage. What is the protocol?
Oh, I forget the protocol.
That's
The one
interesting.
bad part about pCloud is it does not have a client for OpenBSD. So I get to do it manually. But that's fine. It works.
Yeah. Also, I use to synchronize my machines. I use SyncThing, so files are transferring with SyncThing all the time, which works well for me
Well,
internally and
pCloud
externally.
has got a function where you can take certain folders and have them automatically back up to pCloud if you're using Linux or Windows or whatever. The problem I've run into with that is when you have multiple computers and you're trying to do the same thing with the same files, it can get really messed up.
Yeah, I don't do that.
So I might do it with one, but I won't do it with more than one computer.
Like what I do at work is when I'm saving my Excel files, especially, I will save it to my work server or work drive, and then I will save as to the P Cloud. So I'll actually do a double save.
Sounds good. And besides which, you're not running both your work server and your home server at the same time. So as long as one or the other is not involved in doing a backup, you should be fine.
I use free file sync for my backup.
Is that an offline backup or is it a something that's running all the time?
No, it's an offline. I don't really use online things. I prefer to have everything in my possession, pretty much. I might upload some things like photos and that just in case. Extreme case house burns down, didn't get stuff out in time. I've got some backed up photos on,
Yeah.
but I prefer to just have everything in my possession and do a backup myself rather than rely on online.
I've been through that, Colin. In 2014, we had a house fire. We didn't,
Right.
we didn't have any online, cloud-based backups or anything that wasn't on the system.
Right.
So we lost a lot of files and stuff. So now what do I do is I have backups for my backups for my backups for my backups. I have cloud. I do backup files and stuff like that too. I do use Google Drive. I also have iCloud and all that good stuff. I have my server. Then I have my good old 4 terabyte external drive that once I'm done backing everything up, it goes into a. Right now it's not in there, but will go into the closet in the fireproof safe.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That way, all my documents, all my files. I don't care about like movies and that kind of stuff. Whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever, but photos, important tax documents, medical whatever, that kind of stuff. It gets all backed up into external drive.
Yep.
Definitely do it that way. Definitely get yourself, if you got a lot of data that you need to save, I recommend getting a large, this particular is a Western Digital USB-C 4 terabyte drive that I got for $120. So it's not, it's not a huge amount of money. It's a lot of space. And then get yourself one of those little tiny little things that you can put your important documents like passports and things like that into to protect, because you never know. I was at work at my old job when I was, before this is 2014, before everything blew up and we all worked from home. And I was actually a retail manager. I wasn't in IT. So I was at work. My brother was out, shooting guns or whatever he was doing because he was off that day. He texted me, "House burned down, cat's dead." That's exactly what his text was. Because we lost 2 pets in the fire.
Right.
And he was just very blunt because he was in shock and he was in,
Yeah.
whatever. And so yeah, it was you never know when it's going to happen. It was
You just
electrical
never know,
fire.
do you? That
It was
yeah.
electrical fire. Something in one of the outlets went, and then
Yeah,
it
it can happen.
It was well, unexpected. We didn't. It's one of those things. Oh, that'll never happen to me.
Yeah.
Don't believe it.
For me, documents I'm not too concerned about too much, but I bought myself a SanDisk 256 gig, and all I want in there is basically family photos, because that's family photos and videos. That's going to go on a fireproof safe, and that's all I really care about. And if I really want to, I can upload some to Google Drive or Hotmail or whatever, OneDrive or whatever it's called. But so I'm not finished with that yet. Yeah, but that will go on a fireproof safe. That sits pretty much floor level and as low to the ground as possible, I suppose. And yeah, that's all I care about is just family photos, because they're the only things I really care about. If I lose everything, everything else can be replaced. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Now, there's one other thing I wanted to ask. Has anybody seen in the news with the Microsoft's own version of Linux?
No.
They released their own distro. It's a CBL distro. It's a common base Linux called CBL Mariner. It was actually released just a few days ago. The article I'm looking at is actually from yesterday. They released it under the radar. You can download it and you can check it out. In this article, I'll put the article. It's a ZDNet thing. I'll throw that into the good old YouTube chat there, and I'll put it in here as well. And so you can go there. There is another link inside the article on the guide on how to build the ISO image for it if you want to, and put it into a virtual machine and tinker with it or something like that. But I was, just surfing tech news and saw that. I was like, Microsoft, you sneaky little jerks. It's up on GitHub, so you can look at the code and all that good stuff as well. And
I think I caught this very briefly, and I don't think it's that new. I think it's what they use for their Azure cloud platform.
It's not it's not a Linux desktop. It's like Azure Sphere, Microsoft's first specialized distro, but it's slightly different. But yeah, maybe it's a step in the right direction for good old Windows and Microsoft and stuff. Because they're doing that Windows 365 now as well.
Yeah.
I mean they're trying to shake it up a little bit.
I'm noticing CBL's, it's a mixed license. It's got a bunch of MIT licensed components, which is kind of interesting considering the way Microsoft tries to avoid GPL. I'm curious what those components are.
I mean, it's probably I don't know if it's in its infancy as far as that version, what direction they want to go with it. I just noticed this article, and so it's just something to take a look at and see what they're doing.
If you'd have told 30-year-old me that Microsoft was going to release a Linux distro, I would have laughed at you. Now I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Cats and dogs are living together.
Mass hysteria.
Look, all I have to do is just try out the updates, and if I have to stare at little dots going round and round, forget it. It's off the table.
Well, it could be the color wheel or if you're a Mac, using a color wheel of death, as we call it.
This little HP here I installed not long ago. Now, maybe the partition's not big enough, but that's a fresh install of Windows, and it did an update. And I was going to record that thing that I recorded that didn't come out with good quality. It took me 2 hours to wait for this thing because it wanted to update. And then it couldn't do the update. Then it had to restart. And I was sitting there staring at these dots. So just put it aside, and when you're ready.
It took you how long?
It's about an hour and a half or something like that to 2 hours.
I have an old idea pad up there. I don't even know how old it is because it was my mother's, and she sent it to me a long time ago. She found it in the closet, and I'm like, "Well, send it to me. Don't throw it away. I'll if it works, I'll tinker with it." And it's got a I've used it for a Linux machine, for distro testing back in the day when we used to do the distro hopping and all that stuff. Then I decided to throw Windows 10 back on it for the fun of it, because it has a touchscreen and all that stuff as well. So, um, it, I, it, well, I don't think it has an SSD. I think it's just a regular spinny drive. It's one of those ones that's not easy to take apart. You have to get one of those little things and slide it on there and pop the top off and do all that stuff. And I'm like, nah, I ain't messing with all that. But, I got Windows 10 running up on that in no time, maybe 20 minutes or something like that. Then it did this updates and stuff, and it was fine.
No, well, the reason I fresh installed that is because I run out of space to update Windows. So I'm thinking that it's probably out of space already. I don't know, but it's a fresh install.
How big's
So,
the drive on it?
I think I partitioned it maybe 80 gigs or something like that. I don't know.
You did a part.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
did
you're
a
not using
part.
the full drive.
It dual boots. It dual boots with Peppermint, and I have a data drive on there that they both share. So because that thing I take away with me when I go overseas and stuff. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably not enough space for it to do the.
Probably.
It probably, when it's trying to do the updates, it's trying to reserve space to do the updates, and it might not be enough space to reserve it. And you know how that all goes. That's probably what it is.
I'll redo. Sorry.
I bought an Asus about 5-6 years ago, and it was a cheap computer with Windows on it for one particular purpose only. I had a US or a GPS device, and the only way to update it was through Windows or Mac. And so I bought it for that purpose, and it kind of sort of ran and kind of sort of did. I spent more time trying to get Windows Update to work properly. and the minute Garmin came out with an updated device that would update off of
Wi-Fi.
A Wi-Fi connection,
Yep.
I dumped it. I tried putting Linux on that Asus, and it ran like a dog. I could never get it to work right, and I just eventually got rid of it. I don't use Windows unless I absolutely have to, because after Windows 7, Windows and I don't get along. And that's just the way it is, guys. But if you need to use it, more power to you. Exactly.
I need to use it for work, because I work for a bank and their IT department. So
Well,
right now
yeah, that's a use.
Yeah, we're going through a big push right now to get rid of Windows 7. They still have, I think, 7,500 deployed devices that we're trying to get updated from Windows 7 to Windows 10.
Oh my goodness.
They've already done over 300 and something thousand of them. So we're getting to the end. Luckily for us, my desk, I'm the enterprise level 2 desk, and we only get the calls in if the update fails and something breaks, and then we just dispatch people, because I'm in Florida, so the dispatch may come in, the call may come in, the person's like in Idaho or something, and I can't go fix it, so so we dispatch HP. HP techs fix all the machines.
Well, I'm probably going to sort this thing out once Peppermint 11 comes out. So I'll leave it until I'm waiting for Peppermint 11. I know Steve was saying it's based on Debian, so I'm very interested. They haven't put anything out in the wild as far as information goes for Peppermint. So I'll just patiently wait till something happens there. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. It'll be interesting to see how this new release of Peppermint, like what happens with it, like how people respond to it and so forth. There's quite a big change since Mark left us. So
yes, and I'm interested to know, because I know they use a few things from Linux Mint. They've got a couple of things of Linux Mint in there. Nemo was one of them, and I can't think of something else, but Linux Mint have just brought out their new web manager, which is the same as what is the ICE program in Peppermint. So I'm just wondering, I don't know who was maintaining the ICE program. I don't know who was maintaining that. That's, how it makes its own web page. Yeah. So I'm just wondering whether they'll adopt the Linux Mint web manager within Peppermint or not. So I'm interested in that as well. And things like Warpinator and things like that. Be interesting.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Has anybody here been playing with Pipewire at all?
No.
No,
I tried.
unsuccessfewly. Max?
Yeah,
Nothing.
I tried.
Nope. So this week I switched this system to Pipewire because all of a sudden my Bluetooth headset was only coming in with really crackly, poor quality audio, and it wasn't just my voice. And so I decided I would just kind of give it a, take the plunge and try it. And so I read quite a bit. Michael Vash, Vash, he has YouTube. He did a video on YouTube with it. We talked about it a while ago. And so I watched his video again, went on, just read a bunch of things. I was expecting to do all this like System D, sleight of hand and everything else. Anyway, so I just installed, Pipewire's already installed, but the Pipewire Pulse Audio module was not. So I installed that. It uninstalled the Pulse Audio stuff, and then it, Pulse Effects was also uninstalled with that as well. Anyway, and then so I rebooted it, thinking I'd have to like activate some socket or whatever, and but I didn't have to do anything. It just worked. So there wasn't any fiddling to do. It just worked right out of the gate.
Wow.
So I'm happy about that.
I'm
My
impressed.
Bluetooth headset sounds great again. So there's that. I don't know what
I
broke
have no
previously.
sound. This doesn't work.
I can hear you, Jinda. So
Oh, you can?
yeah, I can hear you. You sound a little
It
overdriven.
just cut out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's what it is? Okay.
Yeah, you're a little overdriven, but that's all right. You sound like my headphones sounded with everything, actually, before Pipewire. But no, so I went through the process. I'm going to wait to update my recording machine until the Pulse Effects thing is fixed. I think Pulse Effects 5.0 depends on Pipewire now. So, do I notice any improvements? No. Outside of like that, the what happened, like what was outside of fixing the Bluetooth issue, I don't actually notice any changes. I didn't notice any lagging before, any latency. I don't know if anyone here has experienced latency with Pulse Audio. Years ago, I did, but I don't really have that today. So I'm just really happy to see that, it's not a regression. Things still work. So it looks like Pipewire. I haven't put it in the jack audio stuff either, so that I have to figure out what applications to play with. But yeah, it looks like things are really clipping along there with the Pipewire. Does anybody even care?
Yeah,
I honestly should
do.
take a look at it. I've
Yeah.
been having a bunch of new issues with my auto devices switching, and it looks like I already have installed or already have all the Pipewire stuff installed in Manjaro. I should probably play with it.
Yeah. For me, it was just a matter of adding the Pulse Audio or the Pipewire Pulse Audio module, which kicked out the Pulse Audio hooks or whatever.
I
Whatever's
have
left.
that module already, and I'm curious what installed it. Wondering if I'm already using it and not knowing.
So there's a command you can run that will actually tell you that, and I'll put it in the chat. It's hard for me to think and type at the same time. So give me a second here. I'll try and ramble a little bit as I'm waiting. So
You want me to ramble?
yeah,
want me
you
to
can go ahead and
a
ramble,
bit?
Colin.
Because-
Tell us
because,
about your day.
Well, what I wanted to say was I am interested in this because see, if I'm gonna record on another device, pretty much I prefer to shut my main system down and then unplug the mic so it doesn't know that it's been unplugged, because then you got to go through your favorite recorder or OBS or simple screen recorder, make sure it's recording, make sure it's picked up the mic and this and that, because it never ever goes back to where it was before. So there always seems to be an issue with sound in Linux, especially when it comes to Bluetooth. Sometimes it turns on straight away, sometimes it doesn't. So some days you turn it on and then it takes forever, and then you got to go into the settings and it keeps turning off, and then you turn it on and turn off, and then all of a sudden it turns on again. There's all these little issues that you have with sound in Linux all the time that just can really bug you at times. So I'm just wondering whether Pipewire's sorting those things out. That's my curiosity for the day.
Yeah, I can't say I've had those issues with
Right.
Pulse, but where I would have issues is sometimes like with Pulse effects when adding that, like I would get some strange like loop back, and I would hear myself echoing in my headphones, like
Right.
with OBS or some other things. So that's actually where I'm interested in seeing um, if Pipewire fixes that, like the routing and so forth. I have not played with any of the routing. For me, it was just I had an issue with Bluetooth audio, and I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. It's not going to make anything worse because I can always roll it back, with the snapper on with using ButterFS snapshot stuff. So I knew I could just roll it back if I had to,
Right.
and then so I've been using it now for a few days, quite happily. So I I'm half expecting the Bluetooth just to kick out on me in the middle of this, and then everything just kind of goes to garbage on my end. So I'm half expecting that to happen. If it does, I have a backup plan I can initiate. So I'll just put a please stand by up for a little bit while I fix it.
Once
But-
Bluetooth's connected, it's normally pretty good. It doesn't normally drop out for me. It's just sometimes it's inconsistent in connecting when you first start up. Because I don't know about everyone else, but I always shut my system down overnight. So when I start up the system in the morning, I turn on my Bluetooth, and then I'm sitting there waiting for it to connect, and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. Sometimes I'll turn it on, and it's just instantly connected. And then sometimes I could be waiting and waiting. Then I've got to go into the settings and, just tackle this toggle on switch that just keeps switching off all the time. I don't know what it is. So, but is it true? I think somebody said that Pipewire has jack incorporated in that, or is that
yes,
not true?
it's supposed to have
It
jack.
is, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But I have like some. I bought like a Bluetooth headset at the local dollar store here for like $8. That's the only Bluetooth thing I've had issue with. I'd have to like connect, disconnect, and then reconnect for it to actually connect. Otherwise, it would connect, but not activate the audio in it. But everything else I have, all the
Right.
Bluetooth stuff works fine. Like I use this little little DeWalt Bluetooth speaker thing
Oh, yeah.
all the time, and so I don't want to turn it on in fear of it actually connecting automatically. But yeah, everything just pretty much connects automatically there, and it has for a while. I'll just so I'm actually been pretty happy with Bluetooth overall for years, probably 5+ years now. I've been using it. I have something else called a CoolVox. It's a speaker system that sits on top of my refrigerator that with a specific brand of refrigerator that for a company I used to work for, and and it's a great speaker system. It's a Harman Kardon or something like that. I might be missaying the name.
Harman Kardon, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a real nice, very loud, very clear, loud stereo system. But it's like this tall. It's like an inch tall or 25.4 centimeters, and so it's a great that actually works perfectly every time too. So I've been pretty happy there. So no reason to change that. But yeah. So before we run out of time here, I want to finish off with Thomas. He had a big announcement about his big announcement for a big announcement for Draugr OS, and I wanted to hear what his so he wrote a blog article about basically his project is expanding. I don't want to take the wind out of your sails, but obviously I could tell by the by your usage of exclamation points, you're very excited about what's going on, and so I'd like for you to explain to the community who maybe have not read your blog article and why you should, I guess.
Okay, so just to catch everyone up, if you want to know what Draugr OS is, you can ask me later. But essentially, up until now, the Draugr OS project as a whole has been essentially a dictatorship. Any major decision I was making, and that was the end of it. And for the past couple of years, I've been thinking more and more of what would happen to Draugr OS if I got hit by a bus, or I need to leave the project for a month or two to handle family stuff, and there's nobody there to take up the slack for me. So what I've been doing is working on a way to restructure the administration so that were I to be hit by a bus, Drugger OS would be able to keep going without me. And I got some of our key contributors on board, and we've got some protocol and some policies in place that we follow now. Essentially, what we're doing is we have like this committee that we're calling the core contributor team, or the CCT for short. And once a year, the community as a whole votes for who's on that committee, and they are the people who make the decisions. Of course, I still have the number one position. I am what we're calling the core project manager, or CPM. I can do some stuff on my own, but it's more trivial type stuff that if I were to run it through the CCT, it would take forever and a day. And if need be, I can take executive action and handle crisis situations. Like if somebody tried to hack into one of our servers and we noticed that this was going on, I could very easily go, okay, I go handle this and stop it. I can do whatever I need to within about 48 hours to handle that. So essentially, we're restructuring the way our administration is so that it's okay if a single person is unavailable for an extended period of time or leaves the project suddenly or something like that. It just provides us that security and longevity. It's very difficult for me, honestly, emotionally, because this is my baby. I've been working on this for 4 years, and I've had a lot of control over it for that long. And I've been very reluctant to give up on that control, in part because a lot of our contributors, they come in, they contribute a little bit at a time, or they contribute quite a bit, but only for a short period of time, and then they leave the project entirely, never to be heard from again. So I've been very, very hesitant about giving up that power to other people, because what if they leave the project and then, oh, there's this random person out in the wild who has access to our Twitter account or to our GitHub repository, like through the account that controls it. And I've been having to let go a little bit, and it's very difficult to do, but it's something that I have to do in order to be able to say Draugr OS can continue on now, even if I die or whatever. So the big part about this, other than we're restructuring, is Sunday the 25th, we're having an election for our number 2 position. I got the number 1 position because as the founder, I want my number 1 position. Our core contributor team essentially got grandfathered in. We had a bunch of contributors that were already in place as being the core team. So they're getting grandfathered in for the next year. Next year, they have to either regain their position through voting or somebody else replaces them. But we are going to have an election this coming Sunday on the 25th for who gets the number 2 position. We have 2 guys running. One of them has been part of the project since the beginning, almost. Great guy. You just don't see him a lot in the community because he tends to stay back. And the other dude is way more active in the community, but he's been around for around 4 months, but he doesn't seem like he's going anywhere anytime soon. And he's really trustworthy. Has been helping a lot with desktop level development and has been talking to me a lot about things he wants to do in the future to help out. So if you want to vote for that because you're part of the Linux community, feel free to hop into our Discord server. We're going to be using the Discord stage feature so that we can have an interview with them and get the community to know them a little bit better and make it so the community can ask questions. I will probably make an audio recording of it and put it on YouTube to embarrass them in front of their parents and all that. Because who doesn't? But yeah, so that's the big news.
Well, that's very cool. So it means your project is growing. So there's obviously having some growing pains then for you personally, because you're sort of letting go of your baby a little bit. And so Draugr OS is a gaming focused distribution for the
Yes.
for who in particular? For basically anyone who's into gaming.
Yes. So we started out as more of an emulation specific distro, but then Nintendo went on their little tirade of taking down ROM sites. And since we didn't know what quite was coming next, we decided that we were going to, or I decided I was going to pull
Pivot.
out all the, words are hard, all the emulators and just make it more general. And that's where we've been from there, just iterating and developing, trying to get it more user friendly. They actually did they checked out Draugr OS once for a distro challenge. It was an older version. We've had some major changes since then, but yeah.
I might have to
That's
check
cool.
you out again, Thomas. I might have
Sure.
to check you out again.
I think it was
Please do. It
DistroTube
is
did a
significantly better.
DistroTube I think did a evaluation on you once some time ago.
Yeah, DistroTube did a review of us. Colin, I think you did a review of us on your channel.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when you had that strip in the middle. I don't know if you're still doing that or not. No?
No.
You are?
Nope,
No.
we changed it.
Okay. Okay.
So now the layout for XFCE is a little bit more GNOME-like in order to make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on. If you want to, then in the XFCE panel switcher, you can go back to the old version, but I have not heard of anyone doing that, and I'm not
Right.
surprised, honestly. And of course, it's XFCE, so if you don't like it, you can change it. And no hard feelings there.
Thomas,
so-
great news. The one piece of advice I'd give you is don't call any position number 2.
Fair enough.
It can be
fair enough.
misconstrued.
It's officially known as the assistant core project manager.
Yeah.
Their entire role is if I'm not available for whatever reason, they step in and fill in for that role. Their other position is, oh, dang it, what was it? I remember actually thinking about this, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but all of the policies and protocols that we're supposed to be following this, the core contributor team, they will actually be publicly viewable on our website. I haven't got them up quite yet, but all of the members have copies of those policies and that protocol. And all of that should be up by the end of the week. I just got to convert it from Markdown to HTML because websites.
So do you have a position that's assistant to the project coordinator as well? That was an office
so
reference. So apparently that never mind. Never mind that one. Not
flew
funny.
way over the head.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next then?
What's next?
After the election, then what happens after that?
So after the election, our next big thing that we're working on is we're working towards a beta release of the next version of Draugr OS 7.6. It's going to be based off of Ubuntu 22.04, and will probably be coming out, that beta release sometime around 22.04 drops its beta. But we'll be releasing our stable release well after the stable release of Ubuntu 22.04, because I have a personal policy where I want to make sure that any bugs that are introduced are my fault and not Canonical's. Because if it's Canonical's fault, I need to let them know. If it's my fault, I got work to do. So,
Makes sense. Well, very good. Well, it's about that time. So I'll go on the horn one last time for a last word. Thank you all for being here. And Jason, if you're still there.
Yep, I'm still here. Yeah. Well, I just want to say thanks for hosting us there again, Nate. That way we can get a chance to get an opportunity to hang out and talk tech and talk Linux, talk Microsoft Linux, quote unquote. And
Exciting.
yeah, just great being here, and glad this is back up and running.
Very much appreciate you being here, Jason. Peter.
So, yeah, I love being here too. Two things. Actually, Nate, I told you before the show, but I'll update everyone else. We keep using this word Bluetooth. I did a little story on that on Wednesday, where I had to go pick up a home sleep study to use in my own home, which was a sensor on my finger, a wrist box thing, and a sensor on my chest. And you had to sleep for 7 hours at least. And I handed it back in, but they said during the study, in your room, you couldn't have any Bluetooth whatsoever. So no Fitbits, no Google Play Minis, nothing that was Bluetooth. That actually included our beds, because our beds are Bluetooth. The adjustable bases are Bluetooth. So we had to set the beds at the right height, or the right angle, unplug them, and put the remote controls in a different room.
Wow.
To make sure the study went well.
Did they tell you? Did they tell you what's wrong with you yet?
Yeah, I do have sleep apnea. It's mild, but I do have sleep apnea, and they're recommending a CPAP machine. I'm wanting a Mandalorian helmet.
I was thinking you're becoming like Darth Vader then.
Yeah. Second thing is, wife and I are going back to the Renaissance Fair tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to wearing my kilt again.
Oh, cool. Is it breezy or is it warm?
Oh, it's nice. Come and find out.
Cool. Well, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Peter, for being here. You always have something interesting to let us hear. So I appreciate that. Jinda, last word.
Oh, thanks, guys, for putting up with me today. I had some technical difficulties. I think I straightened them out.
It happens.
Hopefully, I'll see you guys next week, right?
Yeah, there should be a. Well, I should say next week may be up in the air. I won't know for sure yet until Friday. So I'll let you know if there is one next week or not.
Doesn't matter to me.
But that's what I say. We have these most Saturdays. Yeah, there'll be some logistical reasons why I may not be able to do it next Saturday. So we'll find out. But thank you for being here, Jinda. Do appreciate it. Colin.
Well, that is Sunday if you're in the southern part of the earth, anyway.
Well, you're like hours ahead.
Yes, we're the future yet.
Yeah.
Can't tell you much though. Can't leak anything.
I don't disrupt the space-time continuum.
Thanks, Nate. You're doing it all alone tonight, so you've done well. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. Everybody have a great week and take care.
Thank you very much, Colin. But I wasn't alone. I had all of you fine people, so it all worked out well.
Beautiful.
Donald, it's nice to have you on the stream.
Nice to be here. I always enjoy this program. The more the merrier is what I think.
Absolutely.
Now, really, I love Biddle. I'm not a big Ubuntu user, but the community is just fantastic. And I want to thank you, Nate, for taking this over. You're doing a great job, and I just really appreciate it. Have a great week, all.
Well, thank you for being here. Do appreciate it. Thomas.
Well, thank you for allowing me back on the stream again. I'm sorry for the dry little announcement bit, but it is kind of big to me, at least, because it changes a lot. And also sorry I didn't say much other than that. I've been trying to set up a new server, and the server is not wanting to boot from its new hard drive. So I'm about to have some words of prayer with this thing. Other than that, y'all have a good week.
Did we kick Thomas off at some point, did we? Because we welcomed him back or something? Did we kick him off?
No, I just, I was messing with my router and it kicked me off. His reasons.
He kicked himself off. It
happens pretty often.
Heck, I've done that a couple times tonight.
Happens. Well, thanks for being here, Thomas. Do appreciate it. Max.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Managed to make it back in after my power cut out, luckily. Wasn't sure I was going to be here for the end. One big thing I'm looking forward to, I just starting to make plans for the Jupiter Broadcasting Linux meetup in Denver. So excited
cool.
that that's on the radar. Be interested to see if any of you people are there. But yeah, have a good weekend, everyone.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for being here that could be here, whether it's on the Zoom or on the YouTube chat. I want to thank Eric Adams for the usage of his Zoom. Again, he couldn't be here tonight, but he did set everything up so we could actually use it. And also, I want to thank Rocco one more time for starting the Build community. Some of the nicest, greatest bunch of people I've ever met. And I want to thank everyone who's involved in making Linux and open source possible, for not only to have this conversation, but to have fun and enjoy our technology. Because Linux truly puts personal back in personal computers. See yous.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.